Ooh, that the ink flows out of that chisel really nice. Oh, look at that. That's great. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Is It Worth It, where I go around the world and the internet trying to find art supplies that will make your job just a little bit easier, or just so you can enjoy the craft this much more. And today we're going back to a product that we have looked at before, and they had just come out with a new set of markers. We are going back to Adaxi. Okay, so Adaxi has a new set of 80 alcohol dual tip brush markers, and we are going to test them out. As you all know from previous videos, brush tips are not my thing, but I'm always on the search for something really cool. And this pack has a couple of surprises on the inside, and so we really get to see if this package is actually worth it. Come on, let's go check it out. Alright, so the first thing that you notice is the packaging and just how different it looks from what the other packages look like from Adaxi. They used to look like that, right? Very plain, very just run-of-the-mill black bag Adaxi. Now they've got this nice bright yellow bag, and it has a logo on the top, you know. It actually looks nice. Like, this really looks like a nice presentation. The bag itself is a lot more sturdy than the original bag that I got with the first set of markers that I got. And yeah, so I like this already because it's way sturdier than before. All right, now look at that. With this pack comes a couple extra things. Not only do you get the 80 markers, but you also get some drawing paper, right? You get some nice little drawing papers and tutorials on the back, right? This is how you can do this. Here are the colors we use. There you go, right? That's kind of cool. And then of course, I think it's always great that they actually add the color palette for you so that you can always have that. That's nice. But then it comes with color pencils, right? It comes with color pencils. It comes with an eraser, and a fine liner, a gel pen, and a sharpener. And then the 80 markers to boot, right? And most everything is in plastic. So that's really cool, right? But we're gonna go ahead and open one of these up. I don't think we need to open both. Probably the exact same. All right, so the markers themselves, these are white. I think the other ones are black to indicate that one's a brush tip. Nope, they're both white. Okay. So the marker itself is still a white housing. Nothing's really changed, it seems like, for the housing of the marker. So they've kept consistent with that. So it's a nice, you know, it feels good in your hand. Plastic doesn't feel cheap, right? Which is also very nice. The chisel looks very decent, right? Still, it lets off a lot of ink, so that's good. It's got a great snap. Ooh, look at that brush. That is a nice brush tip. That is a really nice brush. Really thick, kind of sturdy, but still has a little bit of give to it. That's nice. Still a nice snap on both sides. See if they post. Post nice and snug too. So that's nice. All right. Still rolls, right? But it is more of a square shape, so they should lie there on your paper. I mean, like, once it's there, it's not gonna just, unless you push it, right? It should just stay there. So that's good. All right, so that's nice. So far, so good. Here. The one thing that I really do wish they would have done though is actually like organize these so that it, you know, the colors are all in the same spot type deal. You know, so your yellows are with your yellows and your greens are with your greens, that kind of thing. That would have been nice. Move this over here, off to the side. Let's take this yellow. Let's see what happens. Ooh, the ink flows out of that chisel really nice. Oh, look at that. That's great. All right, the ink just flows. I love the fact that it goes all the way through. The thing that you do have to worry about, you know, is right at the beginning. So if you're trying to make like really thin lines, which you probably shouldn't do with the chisel, you can get the bullet point from Adaxi and it'll be different, but it does let a lot of ink out at the very beginning. But I do love how it goes all the way through. The color is relatively close. I mean, that is really close to the cap. So that's good. Let's check out this brush. Okay. So the brush it feels soft, right? So it has a nice little give to it. Gives you these nice, big, thick lines that you can still get into a point, which is nice. Let's see if we can get a little... You're not gonna get the thinnest of lines with this brush because it's not stiff, right? It's not a stiff brush, so it's not actually going to give you the like absolute itty bitty thin lines, but they give you a nice steady flow of ink, so that's good. Right, and when it dries, I mean, once again, right, when it dries, it's pretty much the cap color, which is always huge. I do enjoy that. So let's do another one. So I mean, you cannot argue about the flow from these. They just flow so nicely. Hey, that is just nice. And then, like I said, the brush may not necessarily be a super sturdy, like stiff brush, but it does have some stability to it, right? Like you can feel the resistance, but it gives you these nice, thick, varying lines with little effort. So that's really nice. Very, very nice. And of course, you know, the one thing that I have to give the Adaxi markers is the fact that, man, when they start, when you start with the color, it looks like the cap. So you're pretty much getting exactly what it says you're gonna get, which is nice. Right, every one of them is just, it just super flows. I mean, those are great. I mean, that's just nice. Now, one thing that I can see is that when you start using the brush, right, and you overlap it, it does get darker in spots. Unlike when you use a chisel and you can fill it in, it dries consistent, it looks really nice. But with the brush, it's just something you got to keep in mind. So if you're trying to blend, right, you're still gonna kind of fill it in. And when you start filling it in, it's just like the chisel. So that's very nice, right? But you can make these nice varying lines, which is always good, always nice. Let's see if we can. Let's see what kind of blend we can get going on. We got some real nice, similar colors. We've got a pale pink. Well, let's just see. See what kind of colors they are. See, and there's so many, there's such a variety of colors, right? Like this is an 80 pack, so you can really get some nice variations. right? Let's see, where would we go? Got a light pink. These two go together, right? Like you can really tell which ones go together. So we're gonna try these because we didn't unpack an extra set. So we're gonna try these real quick and see how they'll blend together. All right, we're just gonna lay down some color. Let's take the next one. All right. Come back in, obviously. Might not have to. Well, that's already starting to blend nicely. Like I'm gonna let that dry and see what happens. So we're gonna do it with the brush, right? Come in. Because I think you'll have more control with the ability to actually make them, whoops, it's a lighter one. Make them blend. Maybe not. It's like this one and this one. Let's try that. Because I don't. The thing that you definitely have to keep in mind is the fact that these are, when you see them when they're wet, they look completely different than when they start drying. Because that was a really big light color. We'll see what happens with those two. But these are, that's a nice little blend right there. You just come in now and just kind of, I may have used the wrong color. But, we've got some nice transitions going on here. So they blend nice. So my question is, they gave us a fine liner. So I'm really curious to see how their fine liner works with their marker. Alright, so we're gonna spray it. Gotta say though, it was nice. And it's a dual tip. You got a nice regular fine liner that wants you to go a lot slower. I don't know, I would say about a 0.5. Right, so it wants you to go a little bit slower when you make the lines, but the ink holds up pretty nice. And then the thicker one that has obviously a thicker tip. So we're gonna try, as we normally do, I'm gonna go over the yellows. Because what I've realized, oh no, Ad, I don't know if you guys can see that, but it picked it right up, right there. So that's something you gotta keep in mind. Apparently, let's try it separately. So let's go here. I'll try this one too. Try this one. And we'll try green. See, you know what? I'll have to take it back. So if you use the fine liner, if you use the fine point of this, it doesn't bleed. Like, it's not picking up any of the color. Whereas with this one, which I think is meant to fill, the thicker tip, which I think is meant to fill in some of the sides, when you're trying to fill in blacks, you can just come in with this and just fill it in real quick. I think that that's not supposed to be covered over with the marker, because a fine liner just doesn't pull up at all, which is great, right? It does not pull up at all. But you can tell, like, once it went over this, it started pulling up all the ink. So yeah, you can definitely use this pack, which gives you the fine liner, and you don't have to worry about your ink running. So that's really good. Now I know, let's see, Let's see what else we got. Let's see if we can. We'll do a Stedtler. We got touch liner. Touch Stedtler. Where'd my pen go? And we've got this Tombow one. No. Nope, that's the gray one. That's why. We didn't want that one. That's the gray one. It's Micron. So I think that's what we're gonna have to go with right now. Oh wait, we got a Copic. And we'll have Copic. Okay. Copic. Just to see what some of the other pens will do. As always, we'll do yellow. Yellow is what I found to be the most destructive when it comes to colors. Trying to pick up fine liner ink. I don't see any of it pulling up. Well, a little bit of the Copic, just a little bit of the Copic, but every other one, the Micron, the Touch, the Stedtler, everything works just fine. So you can pretty much use any fine liner with these pens and these brushes, and it'll work out just fine. So that's great. So I did ruin this one. I used the wrong color over top, but you know, before that we saw how it was blending, and it just, once you use the colors that are supposed to go along with it, I think your blend will be just fine. They're super vibrant colors. Yeah, this new set was good. So we just got done reviewing the newest Adaxi 80 twin tip brush alcohol markers, and I mean, I don't know what to tell you, but besides they're great. These are really good. Like I was very happy with how vibrant the colors were and the ink flow, which was very nice. Being able to keep the ink, especially on a brush, what I've realized is that when you're working with brush markers, it seems as though the color really flows at the beginning and then kind of dies out as you go all the way to the end. So having these markers, you know, just go all the way, having the color go from start to finish was actually really nice. And then when it dried, it really matched the cap. And I don't know why that's a big deal for me, but it's so helpful to not actually need the color chart, because you can look at the cap of the marker and go, okay, I'm gonna get really, really close to this color. And I think that's great. And so with the combination of the color pencils, the fine liner, the gel pen, the sharpener, the eraser, the coloring pages, and the markers, this is absolutely worth it. And it comes in at $39.99. So that's 80 markers, 12 color pencils, a fine liner, a dual tip fine liner, a gel pen, a sharpener, and an eraser, and some coloring pages for $39.99. That is fantastic. Like, that is absolutely worth it. So if you're looking to get a combo set for a young artist and, you know, a semi-pro that's looking for some markers that would actually be really, really good as a starter set, check out Adaxi, because they have provided a box for you. Well, that wraps up today's episode. I hope that you learned something. If you did, please go ahead and give it a like and share. And if you are new to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell so you are notified every time a new video drops. Also, if you have any type of product that you would like me to review, please drop it in the comments below and I will go ahead and add it to the list. Thank you guys so very much, and I will see you at the next episode.